When I opened my eyes, my first reaction was, these hands are truly beautiful. Their knuckles were distinct, skin fair and fingers long and slender, nails neatly trimmed, exuding a cool elegance. At this moment, these hands were holding me. Don't misunderstand. They were just holding me very normally. What's going on? I blurted out. Then I froze. I didn't have a mouth. The sound came from the sword body trembling. It was then that I noticed my body had turned into a sword. I became a sword, or rather, a sword spirit. The hand noticeably stiffened. The owner of the hand slowly lowered her head, and I saw her face, long hair styled into a classical bun, a vermilion birthmark between her brows, and eyes slightly upturned at the corners, like a red plum petal fallen in snow. At this moment, this ice queen was staring at me with a "my sword has gone mad" expression. Hallucination. Her lips didn't move, but her voice echoed directly in my mind, cold and clear. Or an inner demon. Not an inner demon. I retorted reflexively. It's a sword spirit, babe. She raised me to her eye level, examining me from side to side. I took the opportunity to scan my surroundings. Mountains of corpses and seas of blood, demonic energy surging, and the roars of demonic beasts in the distance. Well, is this a hell-level start? Azure Cleaver has been dormant for 10,000 years, she said, shocked and with a hint of surprise. Did it actually rebirth a sword spirit? Maybe. It reorganized. I bluffed. Slept too long, memory wiped clean, fresh start, get it? She didn't get it, but she didn't throw me away either. This woman has good mental fortitude. Of course, my mental fortitude is even stronger. I accepted the fact that I was a sword so quickly. Congratulations, host. You have transmigrated as a sword spirit. The voice of the annoying system echoed in my mind. What the hell? Host, please don't be angry. Transmigration resources are limited, so we could only temporarily arrange the identity of a sword spirit for you. Temporarily? I caught the key point in the system's words. Yes, when you help your master, the beautiful immortal fairy before you, ascend to godhood, you will naturally shed your sword spirit identity and appear in the world as a human. Ascend to godhood, you say? Resources are limited, and before you successfully become human, this system cannot provide any assistance. What did you say? I yelled, what kind of garbage system is this? Good luck, goodbye. The voice in my mind disappeared, definitely running away out of guilt. I had no choice but to accept reality. The fairy in front of me was still scrutinizing me. Master, what cultivation realm are you in right now? I suddenly asked. Nascent soul. Nascent soul. The cultivation levels of this world instantly appeared in my mind. Chi condensation foundation establishment, golden core, nascent, soul, transformation, tribulation, transcendence, ascension. To reach ascension and become an immortal, there were still two major realms in between. I sighed, that's a bit low. Shen Hanzhuang froze for a moment, then showed an embarrassed expression. She, of all people, was being looked down upon by her sword spirit. But among her peers, her realm was clearly the highest. She was furious and embarrassed. With a tap of her toe, she flew off, standing on me. Yes, standing on me. The wind made my sword body hum. I shrieked, slower. I'm dizzy. She paid no attention. I grumbled. Can you change how you're holding the sword? Your thumb webbing is digging into my hilt. It's really uncomfortable. She swayed, nearly stumbling. You. She gritted her teeth. Shut up. The lofty female, sword immortal, at this moment, had an urge to throw away this fated sword. Her name was Shen Hanzhuang, chief disciple of the Xintian sect, and the Ice Mountain Sword Venerable, renowned throughout the immortal realm. I pieced together this information from the exclamations of the cultivators along the way. If it weren't for this woman, these cultivators would probably have perished in the mouths of the demon beasts. Alone with her sword, she slayed tens of thousands of demon beasts. Chief Shun. It's Chief Shun's heaven-cleaving sword. Such powerful sword chi. That last strike was at least nascent soul stage. I felt honored, proudly humming, if a sword could feel proud. Shenhan Zhuang, however, paid no mind, only settling down in a cave once no one was in sight. She placed me on a nearby stone and began tending to the wound on her arm. "Wait," I said, "this stone is too cold. Could you put me on your lap?" Her movements paused. "You're just a sword. Swords have feelings too, okay? Try sleeping naked on a stone slab bed." The corner of her mouth twitched. It wasn't a smile, but an expression somewhere between speechless and wanting to kill. Yet, she still picked me up and placed me horizontally on her lap. "Thanks." I breathed a sigh of relief. "Oh, and don't drip blood on me. It's sticky, and I'm afraid of blood." She silently moved her injured arm further away. This woman, surprisingly easy to talk to. Night deepened, and she couldn't sleep. Sitting cross-legged at the cave entrance, she stared blankly at the blood-red moon outside. I could feel her fingertips unconsciously stroking my blade, as if confirming something. "What are you thinking about?" I asked. She picked me up again and gazed at me intently. "I never imagined that the Zhansong sword would regain its sword spirit, and you are very different from ordinary sword spirits." I was taken aback for a moment, then asked, "How am I different?" She thought for a moment, her expression strange. Too many strange remarks, and a lack of respect for your wielder. I snorted disdainfully. "Since you put it that way, I'd better maintain my persona. I'm no ordinary sword spirit. I am the spirit of the ancient divine sword, Zhan Song. Are you thinking that my strength isn't good enough for you?" I could feel a slight hint of disappointment in her expression as she spoke. I didn't quite grasp her thought process at the moment. "You said before that my cultivation level was a bit low." I suddenly understood, then found myself between laughter and tears. So it was because of that sentence. Actually, for Shenhan Zhuang to reach the nascent soul stage before the age of 20, she could be considered a truly formidable existence. She was absolutely a genius among geniuses. But the dam system said I had to help Shenhan Zhuang ascend to immortality before I could become human again. So I just made a little comment at the time, and I didn't expect her to remember it. To keep this young lady's Tao heart from being clouded, I could only tactfully reassure her. "Oh, that was compared to my previous masters. Sigh. Every single one of them was an ascended big shot, a supreme powerhouse of their era. You're still young now. Don't compare yourself to them, okay?" She nodded, seemingly taking my words to heart. Afterwards, she placed me back on her lap. "Why aren't you sleeping?" I changed the subject. "You're injured. You need rest." After all, her cultivation was the most important. If she didn't rest well, how could she cultivate? How could she reach the ascension phase? She said, "Outside, sleeping is a weakness." My heart clenched. In my previous life, I was a corporate slave, and I understood that can't stop feeling. But her tone was even more hollow, like a trained instinct. "Then you can sleep now," I said. "I'll keep watch for you. If there's danger, I'll call you. Though you'd have to wake up first when I call. It's at least an early warning." She looked down at me. Moonlight fell on her face, illuminating that frost-like shell until it was translucent, revealing the fatigue hidden beneath. "What? I'm your sword spirit," I said. "If you die, I'll have to sleep for 10,000 years again. That's too boring." The corner of her mouth twitched slightly. It wasn't a smile, but she was no longer expressionless. "You talk a lot. Or is it that all sword spirits are like this?" "I'm no ordinary sword spirit. I continue to maintain my persona. Sleep, Chief Disciple Shun. I'll keep watch tonight. I promise not to make fun of your sleeping face while you're asleep." "You dare." "I'll try my best." She closed her eyes. I felt her breathing gradually steady, but her fingers still rested on my hilt, as if grasping at a lifeline. I sighed softly, if a sword could sigh. "Good night," I whispered. She didn't hear, but I noticed that her tightly furrowed brows seemed to relax a little. 3 days later, we returned to the profound heaven sect. Shenhan Zhuang tossed me onto the stone bed in her cave dwelling and began to untie her belt. I froze for a moment, then screamed frantically, "Wait, wait, wait. What are you doing?" Bathing, she said, expressionless. I'm right here. You are my sword. But I'm a guy. I blurted out, then froze. Her hand, unfastening her belt, paused in midair. A guy. I'm done for. I let it slip. What I mean is, I quickly thought on my feet, is my sword body male? No, my spiritual consciousness leans towards the masculine. Anyway, it's just that. Don't look, it's improper. She stared at me for 3 seconds. Then, she did something that made me want to shatter on the spot. She smiled. Not a cold smile, not a mocking one, but her eyes curved, the corners of her mouth lifted, and even the cinnabar mark on her brow seemed to come alive with her vibrant smile. Like a crack appearing in an ice-covered lake, letting sunlight spill through. A quirky one. Her tone was like talking to a pet dog she owned. Can you see it? I can feel it. I burst out, water flowing over the sword, the change in temperature, and you were... My what? The scent on you. The moment the words left my mouth, I wished I could fold myself in half. What kind of idiotic thing did I just say? My straight male aesthetic, which female colleagues used to complain about in my past life, was going to cause me social death again, even after dying? Shen Hanshuang's ears turned red, but she didn't stop, continuing to untie her belt and shove me behind a folding screen. You stay here. What's the difference? The screen blocks divine sense. Her voice came from behind the screen. But I can feel the sound of water. And you. Say one more word, she said slowly, and I'll stick you in the toilet. I shut up, but I frantically took mental notes. Shun Hans Huang, an iceberg on the surface, but cut her open and she's dark on the inside. This woman is not to be trifled with. The gentle patter of water filled the air. I counted the drops, trying to think of something else. My past life's project progress, unreplied emails, whether the cat in my rented apartment had been fed by the neighbor. But the sword's perception was too keen. Changes in temperature, humidity, and airflow all poured into my brain. Chief Shun, I couldn't hold back. Could you please wash a little faster? What's the rush? My sore body is going to rust. The humidity is too high. Azure Cutter is an ancient divine weapon. Her voice was clear and cold, yet tinged with teasing. What kind of divine weapon would it be if it rusted? Then I'll get moldy. I'll grow mushrooms. She burst out laughing. It was a genuine laugh, and the sound of the water seemed to ripple with it. Only then did I realize her laughter was very pleasant, but usually suppressed, like a string pulled too taut. Hey man, she suddenly said. Huh, your name? She paused. Too many words, full to the brim. Is that a compliment or an insult? Whatever you like. I fell silent. Amen. Full to the brim. In my past life, my name was Zhou Xiaoman. Xiaoman means small fullness, then abundance, a solar term representing gradual filling. My parents named me that, saying it was a solar term, but also a hope. For her to say it casually and hit upon it so perfectly. Thank you, I said softly. The sound of water ceased. Rustling sounds came from behind the screen. She was getting dressed. I let out a sigh of relief, yet inexplicably felt a little disappointed. Hey man, she called again. Yes. In a few days, there's a competition in the sect. Her voice dropped. I want to win. Finally, my sword body hummed with excitement. I've been holding in for half a month. My bones are all numb. No, my sword body is rusted. That's not right either. Anyway, I just want to fight. The corners of her mouth curved slightly. You want to get beaten? I want to see you win, I said. Only if you win will I have face. After all, I am Zhan Song, an ancient divine sword. How humiliating would it be if I lost? She didn't answer, but when she took me out from behind the screen, her fingers lingered on my blade for an extra moment. Sleep, she said, closing her eyes. I spread my perception. 3 zhong, 5 zhong, 10 zhong. The chirping of insects outside the cave dwelling, the sound of the wind, the footsteps of disciples on night patrol in the distance, all encompassed. By my hilt was her breathing, light and shallow, as if afraid to disturb something. I counted her breaths, thinking, how many years has this woman not had a peaceful sleep? Then I'll stand guard, until she gets used to it. On the day of the set competition, I finally understood how Shan Hanzhuang earned her iceberg moniker. She stood in the center of the martial arts arena, her white robes whiter than snow. Her sword hadn't even left its scabbard, yet her opponent's legs were already turning to jelly. All the contestants in this competition were elite inner disciples, strong in power. Among them was even Han Rang, the chief disciple from the previous term, who had long since entered the nascent soul stage. Shan Hanzhuang truly deserved her title as the Iceberg Sword Venerable. Throughout the entire competition, she remained silent, merely drawing her sword with cold indifference. I coordinated with her movements, my 10-foot perception fully open, anticipating every flaw in her opponents. "Thank you for the match," she said, retracting her sword after defeating all her opponents, her voice devoid of inflection. The entire arena fell silent, then erupted in cheers. "Chief Shun! Chief Shun!" I could feel her heartbeat, steady, without a single fluctuation. "You won. Aren't you happy?" I asked. "I'm used to it." Versailles. I rolled my eyes. Finally, an expression appeared on her face. She asked, puzzled, "Versailles, what does that mean?" I bluffed. It said there was once a mortal who occasionally participated in a competition and won. When others congratulated him, he merely said he was used to it. So, people started using Versailles to describe someone who is very good at humble bragging. The corner of her mouth twitched, revealing a smile. It was beautiful. At that moment, a thought suddenly popped into my mind. Staying her sword spirit like this, forever, doesn't seem so bad. Glip tongue. Shan Hanzhuang returned me to my scabbard. That place was dark and narrow, and with her body warmth, breathing it in for too long really got to your head. "Next match," she said, "against Han Rang. Is he strong?" He entered the nascent soul stage a step before me, and was also the previous chief disciple of Xiantian's sect. He entered the nascent soul stage even earlier than you. Will you lose?" "I don't know," she said calmly, "but I must win." "Why must you win?" I was a bit puzzled. Shan Hanzhuang wasn't the type of woman with a strong desire to win. She didn't answer, but she held me very tightly. I grimaced and grumbled. "Easy, easy. Don't worry, with me, the ancient divine weapon Zhan Song in hand. Are you still afraid you can't beat him?" Han Rang was a slender man, probably under 30 years old. His moves were elegant, and his nascent soul stage was actually much more perfected than Shan Hanzhuang's. After dozens of rounds of fierce combat, Shan Hanzhuang's body swayed slightly. My perception expanded to its limit. Left side. He habitually feints left and attacks right. She spun around. Zhan Song drew an arc of light, barely blocking the fatal blow. Above, he's going to press down with his sword. She retreated quickly, the sword chi grazing past her hair tip, cutting off a wisp of black hair. Right side, an opening. She gritted her teeth and lunged forward. I cooperated with her movements, the sword body emitting a clear, ringing sound. This was Zhan Song's instinct. The sword intent pressure of an ancient divine sword actually caused Han Rang's sword body to begin trembling and wailing. In that very instant, sword chi, like a rainbow, grazed past his cheek and blood beads splattered. The entire arena fell silent. Han Rang touched his face, his gaze intentionally or unintentionally glancing at me. Then he politely cupped his hands and said, "Junior Sister Shun, your progress is astonishingly fast." "You're too kind," she panted, her voice hoarse. "Why aren't we fighting anymore? Did we win?" I still felt a bit unsatisfied. "No," she said, but he conceded. "Thank you," she said to me. "Oh, why are you being so polite with me? If you really want to thank me, give this old man a smile." She pursed her lips, then truly smiled again. I felt my heart skip a beat. If a sword had a heart. Shan Hanzhuang's master disappeared 3 years ago. Rumor had it he died in Luoyan Gorge. The sect competition was to select suitable candidates to go to Luoyan Gorge. One was for training, the other for investigation. That's why Shan Hanzhuang wanted to win the competition. "Falling Wild Goose Gorge," she said, folding the mission intel. "There's demonic energy disturbance there. Apart from Xiantian's sect, The other four great sects will also send people. The four great sects. I grew excited. Finally, I can go out and see the world. Chief Shun, are the disciples from other sects powerful? Are there handsome guys? Are there beautiful girls? Are they as powerful as you? Too talkative, she began to pack her bags. I hung on the wall, watching her busy back, suddenly feeling at peace. Falling Wild Goose Gorge was on the edge of the Azure Realm, with high mountains and deep valleys, perpetually shrouded in mist. The journey there was long, and we could only eat and sleep outdoors along the way. But with a fairy accompanying me, it wasn't lonely. However, Shun Han remained preoccupied throughout the journey. What's wrong? The sword hummed softly, voicing my confusion. Shun Han sighed, gazing at the firelight before her, and softly said, Master disappeared 3 years ago. Some say he's in Falling Wild Goose Gorge. For so many years, Master taught me swordsmanship, treating me as his own. I truly don't want to believe that good fortune befalls the good. Master, that venerable elder, will surely be safe and sound. He is my master. Yours is mine, isn't it? I said carelessly. Shun Han smiled, but said nothing. Chief Shun, want to hear a song? Shun Han was a little surprised. You can sing? Of course. A sword spirit that can't sing isn't a good sword spirit. I cleared my throat, channeled my energy to my danshin, and suddenly began. If I were a sword spirit, would you love me? Would you love me? Would you love me? Shun Han covered her ears. Shut up. That's terrible. On the edge of the Azure Realm. When we arrived, the disciples from the other four great sects were already there. Sister Shun, a girl in red came forward, her smile lively. Do you remember me? Chi Yin from the Skyfire Gate. We met when we were children. I'm about to break through to the peak of the Golden Core stage and enter the nascent soul stage. Shun Han nodded, placing me horizontally at her side. Is this slashing azure? Chi Yan's eyes lit up. An ancient divine sword. Can I borrow it to look? No. Oh, Chi Yan stuck out her tongue. I almost laughed out loud. Shun Han iceberg persona was even more bone-chilling to outsiders. 3 more people arrived successively. The Herculean monk Wu Wang from the Vajra Gate, early nascent soul stage, his body a mass of bulging muscles, looking like an iron tower. Lu Xian, a zither player from the Miaoan sect, in the mid-stage Golden Core realm, held a 7-stringed zither, his eyes and brows gentle. And Dugu Ju, a sword cultivator from the Wan Jian tomb, in the nascent soul stage, carried 7 swords on his back, his gaze upon Shun Han burning with fervor. Luoyin Gorge serves as a barrier between the human and demonic realms, protected by a formation set up by the 5 major sects. How could the demonic chi be so dense now? Lu Xian frowned deeply. His unique cultivation technique, sound wave art, excelled at perception. The source of the demonic chi is deep within the canyon, Wu Wang said gravely. This old monk perceives what seems to be a nascent soul stage demonic creature. Then kill it, Dugu Ju said coldly. His gaze, however, remained glued to Shun Han. Chief Disciple Shun, would you be willing to fight alongside me to vanquish the demons? Shun Han was expressionless, completely ignoring him. At this moment, I was laughing so hard I wanted to roll on the ground. This guy, his flirting skills are just terrible. Chief Disciple Shun, I said in my mind, this Dugu Ju likes you. Shut up. Seriously, the way he looks at you is like, say one more word, and I'll toss you away. All right, I won't say it. We all knew this journey would not be peaceful. The demonic chi deep within the canyon was heavier than imagined. The gray-black mist surged like a living thing, corrupting anything it touched. Disciples from the 5 major sects advanced in formation, with Shun Han and Dugu Ju leading the charge, one on the left and one on the right, their sword chi tearing through the demonic mist. Left side, there's a demonic creature, 3 zhang away. I shouted. Shun Han spun around, her azure severance sweeping across, its golden sword chi slicing 3 demonic creatures in half at the waist. Dugu was not to be outdone. His 7 swords flew out simultaneously, sword light raining down, pinning the demonic creatures on the other side to the ground. Sister Shun, I'm here to help you, Qi Yin called from behind, setting things ablaze, the most carefree and lively of them all. Focus, Shenhan Shuang said coldly. The deeper they went, the stronger the demonic creatures became. 2 golden core, stage, demonic generals appeared, and the remaining disciples from the 5 major sects fought individually, barely managing to hold their ground. Dugu dismembered a demonic creature that suddenly darted out to ambush Shenhan Shuang, then moved closer. Chief Disciple Shun, Dugu suddenly said, "If we survive this journey, would you be willing to become my Dao companion?" No. I was dumbfounded. Well, no more beating around the bush. He's going straight for it now. Deep within the canyon, the formation set up by the 5 major sects was still intact. However, in front of the formation, an altar had been arranged. A person stood directly in front of the altar. Their figure was ethereal and graceful, scholarly and refined. Han Rang, the previous chief disciple of the Profound Sky sect. Senior Brother Han, what are you doing here? Shenhan Shuang asked, bewildered. Han Rang, however, stared directly at them all. Don't go any further. Senior Brother Han. Wu Wang stepped forward and said, demonic energy is leaking from falling Wild Goose Gorge. Please let us go forward and investigate so we can report back to the sect. Yeah, Senior Brother Han, just let us take a peek, Qi Yin said, grinning. Oh, by the way, Senior Brother Han, do you still remember me? When I was little and visited the Profound Sky sect, you even took me to see the sights. I said, don't go any further, Han Rang said, unmoved, enunciating each word. At the same time, a crimson longsword suddenly appeared in his hand. The moment the sword appeared, an irrepressible surge of excited agitation erupted within me. The sword exuded demonic energy, imbued with an overbearing, volatile power. This is, I thought in surprise. It was the first time I had ever felt such a stirring for a sword. Calamity Blade, the demonic sword Calamity Blade. Lu Xian practically shrieked. The demonic sword Calamity Blade, a supreme treasure of the demonic tribe, and the sworn enemy of the divine sword Slashing Azure. Legend had it that each time it manifested, it would bring devastating calamity to the world. Han Rang, you actually defected to the demonic tribe. Dugu roared, reprimanding him. What? Shenhan Shuang frowned. What? Han Rang gave a silent laugh. I also want to know why. Why did Slashing Azure choose you back then and not me? I froze. Wait, was this about me too? Clearly, my strength was greater than yours. My talent in the Sword Dao was superior to yours. Just because of that, you joined the demonic tribe. Han Rang gave a silent laugh, revealing a helpless expression. He lightly waved the Calamity Blade, stirring up a surge of wild, demonic energy. Demonic tribe, human race, I don't care. Since Slashing Azure wouldn't choose me, the Calamity Blade can just as well allow me to ascend in the future. Corrupt intentions, yet you still dream of ascending to immortality? Today, I shall rid the sect of this menace. Shenhan Shuang's beautiful face hardened with fury, and Slashing Azure instantly leaped from its scabbard. What a bother, he sneered at Shenhan Shuang. Very well. I'll let you become a sacrifice for the altar, just like your master. Shenhan Shuang froze at his words, her eyes instantly blazing crimson. You killed, master. She gritted her teeth. Impossible, with your cultivation. Han Rang scoffed. Junior Sister Shun, you have never truly understood the power of Slashing Azure and the Calamity Blade. His gaze turned to me. You are simply not worthy of possessing Slashing Azure. As he spoke, he casually swung out a sword strike, and a furious surge of sword energy instantly assailed the group. Everyone raised their weapons to block, but they were swept back by the sword energy. Only Shenhan Shuang managed to steady herself, relying on Slashing Azure. But the moment I came into contact with that sword energy, the sword itself erupted with a violent tremor. I grimaced, my body feeling like it was falling apart. Han Rang's cultivation was already more profound than Shun Han Shuang's. During the sect competition, he could stand his ground against her with just an ordinary sword. Now, with the Disaster Blade, a weapon as renowned as Zan Song, in hand, he was likely even more formidable, like a tiger given wings. Can we win? I asked. I don't know, Shun Han Shuang replied, her face pale as millennium-old cold jade. But this battle, I must win. Shun Han Shuang gripped me tightly and steadied herself once more. We were connected in spirit. I could feel the resolute fighting will within her. The sword body vibrated with excitement, and I grumbled. Then let's take him on. Damn it, I, the ancient divine sword Zan Song, will lose to a demonic blade. Shun Han Shuang closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, they were calm as still water. The next moment, she ascended, controlling her sword. Zan Song and the Disaster Blade clashed fiercely, colliding no less than 100 times in a mere breath. Between Shun Han Shuang and Han Rang, there was a dense clanging of metal and stone, and simultaneously, two sword-light barriers, one golden and one red, formed in front of them. Every collision with the Disaster Blade made my sword body vibrate. This was a joyful howl from the soul, the excitement of once again confronting a millennia-old nemesis. An opening on his lower left. Strike at his lower body. Careful. He's deliberately slowing his movements. Relying on my perception, expanded to its limit, I clearly anticipated all of Han Rang's movements. Shun Han Shuang and I cooperated with increasing synergy. I wondered if she had opened her inner barrier, for I could perceive all her intentions, and she, in turn, could sense my unspoken tactics. The gap between the two of them was gradually shrinking. Ultimately, they were evenly matched. Frostcold 9 provinces. Following Shun Han Shuang's sword art, sword lights filled the sky, transforming into icy sword chi that enveloped Han Rang like a blizzard. After the blizzard-like sword chi, Han Rang propped himself on the Disaster Blade, his body covered in tiny wounds. Han Rang panted heavily, frowning as he looked at Shun Han Shuang. During the last competition, you and Zan Song weren't this perfectly attuned. How much time has passed since then that you can unleash Zan Song's power to such an extent? Shun Han Shuang delivered a remark that struck at the heart. Since Zan Song chose me, I naturally won't let it down. That's quite flattering to hear, I thought, overjoyed. I then reminded her, now's the time, all. The other 4 had now recovered and stepped forward to stand beside Shun Han Shuang. Master Han, it's still not too late to turn back now, Wu Wang advised. Why waste words with him? Dugu Ju exclaimed, his 7 swords simultaneously unsheathing as he prepared to step forward. Han Rang snorted coldly and leaped into the center of the altar, simultaneously plunging the Calamity Blade downwards. A surge of demonic energy erupted, spreading from the Calamity Blade throughout Han Rang's body. You're going to completely fall into the demonic path. Han Rang ignored him, appearing utterly deranged. Demonic Lord, come. Let me see the legendary ascension stage. A faint sense of unease settled in my heart. Quick, stop him, I shouted to Shun Han Shuang. Shun Han Shuang charged forward almost the instant I spoke. But a heaven-soaring surge of demonic energy suddenly erupted, enveloping Han Rang and simultaneously forcing Shun Han Shuang back. Everyone gazed at the overwhelming demonic energy, as if facing a formidable foe. After the demonic energy subsided, standing in the center of the altar was a child. Han, where's Han Rang? Chi Yin asked, startled and uncertain. Han Rang, the child said. Am I not Han Rang? Oh, perhaps now you should call me Demonic Lord. Demonic Lord? Lu Xian's voice trembled. The legendary Demonic Lord? The child appeared to be no more than 7 or 8 years old, with red lips and white teeth, like a porcelain doll. But in his hand, He held a sword, scarlet as blood, its blade entwined with crimson patterns that pulsed like veins. Interesting, the child, whose identity as demonic lord or Han Rang was unclear, said, his voice childish, yet carrying an ancient weariness. Zhan Song has awakened too? Perfect. The Calamity Blade is hungry. He raised his hand. The Calamity Blade unsheathed, not with sword energy, but with substantial demonic mist, reaching out like countless grasping hands towards everyone. Form a formation, Qian shouted. But it was useless. The demonic lord's cultivation was unfathomable. The elite disciples of the 5 great sects were like paper before him. Wu Wang was the first to fall, his tower-like body eroded by the demonic mist, instantly withering to skin and bones. Lu Xian's zither music had just begun when it was shattered by the Calamity Blade's hum. His 7-string zither broke, and he spat blood, flying backward. Qian's flames were devoured by the demonic mist, turning against her, her red robes stained with blood. Du Guju unleashed all 7 of his swords, their lights like rainbows. But the moment they touched the demonic lord, they were severed by a single strike from the Calamity Blade. 7 swords, broken into 14 pieces. He knelt on the ground, a wound on his chest so deep that bone was visible. He looked at Shen Han Shuang. Run. Shen Han Shuang didn't leave. She held me very tightly, her heart beating fast. But there was no fear, only a kind of absolute resolve. We can't win. I know. You'll die. I know. But you still. They are still here, she said, her gaze sweeping over the 4 fallen figures. I can't leave. My heart clenched. She leaped up, her body as light as a butterfly. Zhan Song traced a golden arc, her strongest sword technique, Frost Heaven Slash. The demon lord raised his hand, Xiren blocking horizontally. Golden and crimson light intertwined, like 2 ancient beasts tearing at each other. 3 moves. In her nascent soul stage, she only lasted 3 moves. Only an ascension stage cultivator could push her to this point. The 4th move, Xiren pierced her right shoulder. Blood splattered on my sword, warm, sticky, with a metallic scent. Shen Han Shuang. I screamed. She didn't retreat. Holding her sword in her left hand, she continued to attack. The 5th move, Xiren slashed her left leg. The 6th move, Xiren left a wound on her back, deep enough to expose bone. She fell to her knees. Zhan Song was plunged into the ground, supporting her from falling completely. The demon lord approached. Xiren pressed against her throat, like a cat toying with a mouse. The current wielder of Zhan Song, the demon lord chuckled, is nothing more than this. Shen Han Shuang looked up at him and suddenly smiled. The corners of her mouth curved upwards, her eyes crinkled, and the cinnabar mark between her brows seemed to come alive. Not from happiness, but from a kind of relief. A man, she said in her mind. I'm sorry, I can't take you back. This stone is too cold. Can you put me on your lap? Can you change your sword-holding posture? Chief Shun, can you wash a little faster? I'm going to lose it. If I were a sword spirit, would you love me? Would you love me? From now on, I'll call you a man, full of words, overflowing. Smile for your lord. Shen Han Shuang, I said, my voice trembling, look at me. She lowered her head to look at me. Blood blurred her vision, but she still tried hard to keep her eyes open. Smile for your lord. She smiled, but it was uglier than crying. The sword body trembled, and the golden patterns on it suddenly lit up. The sword unsheathed itself, the ancient divine sword's immense pressure erupting. This was not her spiritual power. It was mine. It was Zhan Song's true essence, dormant for 10,000 years. A man, she exclaimed. Warning, warning. The system's voice suddenly came. Host, please stop your self-destructive behavior. Host, please immediately stop your self-destructive behavior, or you will turn to ash and smoke, and this system will not be able to save you. Stop. Stop immediately. This system will give you... I didn't listen to the system's subsequent words. The sword body soared, golden light blazing, like a great sun slowly rising. The demon lord's face changed. Jean Sang, the demon lord took a step back. Protecting its master on its own, that's impossible. Possible, because I'm not a sword spirit. I am human. I transmigrated, carrying a soul from another world, carrying the inherent ferocity of humanity. I want her to live. I want her to smile. I want her to smile more often. Sword energy raged, like blazing fire. I clashed with Calamity's edge, each collision an expenditure of primordial essence. The demon lord shrieked, Calamity's edge wailed, and I was shattering. Cracks appeared on the sword body, and the golden patterns began to dim. But I didn't stop. Shenhan Zhuang called out to me, her voice hoarse, with a choked sob. A man. Stop. You'll break. I know, I said, my voice coming from deep within the sword body, like wind through an empty valley. But you must live. I don't. Promise me, I said, to smile more often. The final strike. I poured all my primordial essence into the sword body, and Jean Sang let out an unprecedented clear, ringing cry, like a dragon's roar, like a phoenix's cry, like an awakening after tens of thousands of years of slumber. Calamity's edge shattered. Black and red light exploded, and the demon lord was sent flying, spitting out 3 liters of blood. I also broke. The sword body split down the middle, and the dark red patterns completely extinguished. I felt myself dissipating, like sand, like mist, like I had never existed. A man. Shenhan Zhuang crawled over, cradling my broken sword body in her hands. Blood dripped onto me, warm and sticky, like hers and like mine. Chief Shun, I said, my voice growing fainter, don't cry. I'm not crying. She was crying. Tears fell onto my sword body, like rain, like a sea. Look at me, I said. She looked up. In her blurred vision, my soul. Not a sword, but a human form. Pale, slender like a scholar or one of those people from the storybooks beside her pillow, the kind who would talk to her. A man. She froze. So many words, I said, smiling, utterly full, all of it with you. I reached out, wanting to touch the vermilion mark on her brow, but my fingers had already begun to turn transparent. Promise me, I said, to smile more often. Really smile, I said, not just a twitch of the corner of your mouth. She smiled. The corners of her mouth turned up, her eyes curved. The cinnabar mark between her brows came alive with it, tears still clinging to her face. It was ugly but real. Smile again. She smiled again. This time it was wider, revealing a hint of white teeth, like a child who had received candy. I was satisfied. My fingers became completely transparent, and my spiritual consciousness began to dissipate. In the very end, I said, goodbye. Shenhan Zhuang survived. The disciples of the 5 great sects were rescued by the elders who arrived later. The demon lord was nowhere to be found, and the fragments of the Calamity Blade were sealed. She returned to Xiantian's sect, clutching the broken Jean Sang, and sat in her cave, dwelling for 3 days and 3 nights. On the 4th day, she began to smile. It wasn't just a twitch of the lips, but a genuine smile. Her eyes curved. The cinnabar mark between her brows came alive, like an ice lake completely cracking open, with sunlight surging in with a rush. The sect disciples said she was mad. She ignored them, simply wiping the broken Jean Sang every day, just as she had before and after every battle in the past. Amen, she said. I smiled 3 times today. Amen, she said. Qian came to see me, and I smiled. Amen, she said. Dugaju sent a new sword. I didn't take it, but I smiled. The broken Jean Sang did not respond, but she knew he was listening. Within 30 feet, he was listening to every rustle of wind and grass. One night, she placed Jean Sang horizontally by her pillow, just like every past night. Moonlight streamed in, falling on the broken blade. The golden patterns were dim, yet they seemed to be breathing. Amen, she whispered, good night. She closed her eyes. Her fingers rested on the sword hilt, as if clutching a lifeline. Wind swept through the cave dwelling, like the sigh of a certain voice. Good night, someone said in the wind. Chief Shun. She smiled. The corners of her mouth turned up, her eyes curved, the cinnabar mark between her brows came alive, this time without tears. Seriously, if you didn't want the sword spirit identity, you could have just said so. No need to be so temperamental. Damn system. Didn't you say there were no transmigration slots left? This system applied for one for you. This was exchanged for my many years of performance, so you'd better pay me back double. This time, your identity is the ghost guardian beside the fairy maiden. You motherf. Don't rush, don't rush. You'll get a flesh and blood body immediately after completing the mission. What mission? Capture the fairy maiden's heart. How about that? Pretty generous, right?